If you'd like to support our efforts, go to patreon.com/Omaha and consider becoming a patron for a few dollars a month.
Welcome to the North Omaha History Podcast with noted author and historian Adam Fletcher Sassy. Each week, Adam takes you on a guided tour through Omaha's dynamic past.
There are places in Omaha where ghosts, legends, and history come alive with mysterious burial sites, wispy hauntings, and grand memorial trees. The pioneer graveyard called Prospect Hill Cemetery may be the most haunted of them all. And this is a great story. Adam, tell us more about it.
So let's go way back to 1854. This is before Omaha's opened up for settlement. There are prairie wagons that are riding a little ferry across the Missouri River. The ferry's called the Lone Tree Ferry. And folks are riding on this across the river, and they're heading west. They're going out to Oregon Territory. They're going out to Utah to join the Mormon settlement there. They're going to California to be gold diggers. They've been on this road now for more than a decade. We remember that the Mormons came through up in Florence. We talked about that in an earlier podcast. But we also had the 49ers come through the Omaha area. We had all kinds of different folks in the area. One of the things that happened along the way is that people died here and there. And when they died, they needed a place to be buried. So the Prospect Hill Cemetery started on the highest hill that you could see when you rode into Omaha, or into the area that became Omaha. It was right over there. It's just a little bit northeast and a nice little bump in the whole landscape. Omaha was covered with hills at this point, but folks wanted to be buried on the highest hill. So when they got to the highest hill, they called it Prospect Hill. Surely that was related to the prospectors who were coming through, and they were buried there. Those informal burials happened at least all the way into the 1840s. But maybe even earlier. But what we also know is that they found Indian burials there as well right away. The Ponca had a habit of burying their dead on the top of these ridges all up and down the Missouri River. They're still finding Ponca burial grounds up and down the Missouri River on top of these ridges that overlook the river. And so that they chose Prospect Hill as a cemetery place, not a surprise. It just worked really well since you already had people there and lots of stuff happening. Well, when the city got incorporated, everybody knew that they needed a regular cemetery. Before they chose Prospect Hill, there were several other places, and we're going to talk about those in another episode later on, the lost cemeteries of North Omaha and of the city of Omaha in general. But they ended up choosing Prospect Hill to be the main city cemetery. It didn't happen right away. The cemetery formally opened in 1858 when Jesse Lowe, who was the city's mayor, said, hey, you guys can use my land right here for the cemetery. And he formally set that aside. It changed up a little bit, though, over the next couple of years. There was an actual city cemetery that was 4 times the size of the land that Lowe had set aside that was open due south of Prospect Hill, right there on the ridge. And that neighborhood is still intact today. And then there was another cemetery area that was open to the west of Prospect Cemetery and what we know its boundaries to be. Needless to say, Prospect Hill still sits there today and the others don't. It's at 33rd and Parker, right on the corner there. Prospect Hill Cemetery today it's a National Register of Historic Places site and has a lot of beautiful burials and just great things that are going on there. About 17 acres with over 20,000 burials. So lots of stuff is going on right there, Steve.
Now, I understand, Adam, that the last official interment happened in the 70s, but really there weren't a lot of burials before that. Most of the burials happened from 1858 to turn of the last century, or when?
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So some of those burials, I mean, the people who are buried in Prospect Hill they're the hallmarks of Omaha. I mean, they're the places that the streets are named after, that the parks are named after, that our schools are named after. People recognize the names like Millard and Armstrong and Poppleton and Metz and Cumming and Reed and Krug, and a lot of other people who are just like, Omaha's Illuminati, as it were. So there's a lot of cool burials there.
Anna Wilson's buried there?
So the notorious Madame Anna Wilson. Man, she is all over North Omaha history for the right reasons and maybe for some, not so right reasons. She owned a famous brothel that was downtown, and her brothel there, she was, I'd mentioned earlier on another one of our episodes that she was known as being the prostitute with a heart of gold. She brought in these wayward girls and she turned them for tricks, and they became prostitutes. But she also helped them get set up into normalized marriages, move out of prostitution into, as they became older. She paid for their health care when they got sick. I mean, all kinds of different things. And then Wilson herself, she left all kinds of fortune behind. And part of her instructions when she died was to be buried there at Prospect Hill. She wanted to be buried next to her husband, or common law husband. His name was Dan Allen, and he was a super famous gambler. So when she died in 1911, she was buried at the cemetery. But there's some special conditions that she laid. She had a 6-foot slab of concrete put on top of her burial site. The 6-foot slab of concrete she thought was necessary to keep the rich people from digging down and digging out Dan Allen and her's corpses, their funeral
remains. Yeah, their remains. Yeah.
Their remains. She was nervous about that because she knew that the wealthy people wouldn't want her by them. Well, she was kind of right. Nobody, so far as I know, nobody actually tried, but they certainly didn't accept the gifts that she bequeathed to the Omaha Old Folks Home, or even the city of Omaha. They got Anna Wilson's brothel in the will, and even though they used it as a hospital for a little while, surely they tore that sucker down as quick as they could. But a fun thing is that still today you can go into Prospect Hill Cemetery and see the burial site of Anna Wilson. The other fun thing is that the Prospect Hill Cemetery Association, it's a nonprofit that maintains the cemetery and provides all kinds of educational opportunities. They have a great website that's on the internet that you could Google. They have an annual gathering around the burial of Anna Wilson. It happens on Memorial Day, and they celebrate some of the nuances to her passing. And I won't tell too many of those because they do a great job of it, but I would definitely encourage listeners to check that out. And the other thing that's worth mentioning about her gravesite really quick is that the monument that's there features 4 columns, and it was made to Anna Wilson's specification to look like canopy bed, because that's where the majority of her work was done. So the next time that you get a chance to take a look at that cemetery, you'll want to see that canopy bed monument that's right there in honor of Anna Wilson and her long profession.
I'll be darned. And I understand the cemetery is maintained very well now at this point in time.
Yes, right now it's in great condition. The association actually hosts an annual cleanup, and every year they have a lot of work to do to keep it looking so good. But it's definitely a beautiful place to visit. That's for sure.
Oh, that's great. So tell me about the Buffalo Soldiers, Adam.
There was an awesome project done by students in Omaha Public Schools in the 1980s where they wanted to find the graves of the Buffalo Soldiers at Prospect Hill. I'm going to end up writing an article all about this, but what I can say is that they found several. And what we know about Prospect Hill is that there are several African-American burials there, some of which might not be in marked graves. And the ones that are definitely reputable. But it's one of the richer elements of the cemetery that really needs to have a light shown on it. So that's one of the things that I look forward to exploring more in the future, is all of the different Buffalo Soldiers who were buried there. One of them was the last Buffalo Soldier to be alive in Omaha when he was buried in the 1920s. And folks can check out my article on Prospect Hill Cemetery on the NorthOmahaHistory.com website to learn more.
Oh, that's great. And if you'd like to support our efforts, go to patreon.com/Omaha and consider becoming a patron for a few dollars a month. And also check out Adam's great selection of books on Amazon. And again, his blog, NorthOmahaHistory.com. Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks for listening to the North Omaha History Podcast with noted author and historian Adam Fletcher Sassy. Join us next week as Adam takes you on another guided tour through Omaha's dynamic past.